2017-247, found on page 34. City of Warwick, low sulfur diesel and diesel fuel.
Sir, the department is asking that the bid be awarded to the lowest bidder, which is Roberts Energy LLC, and I would like to amend the amount. It's currently listed on, it's $500,000, which is a typo. I would respectfully request that be amended down to $400,000.
All right, so Major, you're looking to amend from 400,000, I'm sorry, from 500,000 to 400,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that helped a bit, Major, because I have some of my own concerns with this. For a couple years in a row now, and I realize it wasn't happening on your watch, but it's happened, where the police department has made some transfers out of the fuel budgets. 1 year, significant amount. This year, you've transferred out 25,000. And I'll have a question, a follow-up question to that in a minute. You also have a reduction in your encumbrance from the encumbrance column in January to the encumbrance column of today. And that encumbrance was reduced by 10,000. Your initial budget for this fiscal year called for 350,000 in fuel, and you have transferred 25,000 out of it, and as we sit here today, you have 51,000 available in your budget. Tell me where the $25,000 transfer went to. Where was it transferred?
I'm going to have to defer to the deputy chief on that.
Okay, thank you.
Since I made the transfers...
Commander, just identify yourself, please.
Commander Bubula for the police department. Since I made the transfers, I think it's appropriate that I answer that. It was the money for the badges, which we did previously, for the vests, and one other item that I'm forgetting at the moment. But it was for it was for 3 specific items when we were over in those budget codes.
So, I'm not sure if you want to answer these next questions or not, Commander. What is the cost per gallon that you're using to come up with the budget for fuel?
The way that the city does a single bid out of purchasing for all departments, and the way that the winning bidder wins is by agreeing to pay whatever the gallon price is on the specific day that the gas is delivered, plus their profit. Like in the case of the bid we're asking to be awarded, they just look at whatever the New York Exchange price for gas is and add 0.9%. And by far the lowest bidder, I believe the next lowest bidder was 2.1 cents per gallon. The winning bidder is 9. And that's how they come by the price. There's not a specific price per gallon, but rather the price on the New York Exchange for the day the gas is delivered, plus the lowest bid for their profit.
So how much fuel did the police department use last year?
I don't remember the exact figure, but I believe it was 142,000 something. But I can say that the police department has never, in my experience, used less than 140,000 gallons and never more than 150,000 gallons. And it varies depending on how much of our complement is actually filled in and there are officers driving around, and on, frankly, on the kind of weather events. But it's safe to say that we will never use less than 140,000 and never more than 150. And it's generally speaking usually between like 141 and 146. So I plan for 150 to make sure that we have sufficient.
What size is the tank or tanks that you have at the police department, the fuel tanks? How much fuel do you have?
I knew that, but I forgot to tell you the truth. It's...
I know I ask it every year.
I know, and I knew that answer, Councilman, but quite frankly, I forgot. I know that it's about $150 for the thing, 0.9%. No, I truly don't remember. You've seen it, it's a big tank. I don't remember how many gallons it is, but I can get it for you instantly by tomorrow.
When was the last time that the police department received a fuel delivery?
It generally comes, I don't know the exact date, it's generally about every 2 weeks.
Every couple of weeks?
Yeah, what we do is the garage manager checks the level, and when it goes below, I think he said, I asked him that too, when I asked him the size of the tank, which I've forgotten, and he said when it goes below about 40%, he reorders.
So this encumbrance that I'm looking at as of 10 past 12 today, you have an encumbrance of $118,123 of fuel purchased that's waiting to be paid.
No.
No?
Now, what we do is, I set when the new fiscal year changes, like after July 1st, and I'm awarded whatever budget that I'm going to get for gas, I go over the previous year's payments for gas, see how many deliveries were made and how much gas was delivered on an average between each one at each price, and then I encumber enough gas for like 6 months, and then at the end of 6 months I encumber another 6 months worth of gas based on projections. The encumbrances are usually actually too big, but it's done because it's much simpler for purchasing and finance to simply draw down on an encumbrance than for us to do a separate purchase order every 2 weeks for the gas. It's an estimate, sometimes it's under, sometimes it's over, so I leave a certain amount of money unencumbered, partially to pay for when my estimate of the encumbrance needed is under, and partially to pay for the gas for the motorcycles, which have to come from a separate source because they have to use a higher octane.
So are you saying that this encumbrance that I'm looking at now of 118,000, that's an anticipated purchase on your part?
Yes, it's removed from the money that's available for us to spend unless I choose to reduce the encumbrance. That's what the encumbrance means, that purchasing and finance have already devoted that to spend on that particular item. But again, it's an estimate that I make for administrative purposes because it's far easier to draw down on an encumbrance than to do an endless series of time-expensive purchase orders every couple of weeks.
So that also means that's fuel that you haven't used yet.
Yes, that's correct.
So your entire budget for this year was approved at $350,000.
Yes.
You transferred 25 out, that leaves you with $325,000.
Yes.
And now you're telling me that you have still sitting in the coffers $118,000 worth of fuel that you have not used yet, in addition to an available budget of $51,000. So we're looking at about $170,000 or more than half of your budget that you haven't used yet, and we've got 3 months left in the fiscal year.
Actually, let me just clarify one point that I should have clarified. There are unpaid bills in the cycle. So some of that money is in for usually the last 4 deliveries, isn't it? Like 4 deliveries, something like that, has actually been delivered and will be paid out of that to begin with when the time comes. At the last projection that I made of our actual gas usage, which I think was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, it looks to me like we're probably, at the current price, if it doesn't change, we're probably going to use between $300,000 and $310,000. But at the time we asked for the gas, I mean, we have had absolutely historically low gas prices too. So we asked for the price of the gas at the, what seems reasonable, and we also asked for enough to pay for 150,000 gallons at what's reasonable, because we can't predict any more than that it'll be between 140 and 150. And like I said, it appears that our usage this year, based on our usage for the first 8 months, is going to be somewhere between 141 and 143. But I have to allocate for the 150.
Mm-hmm. And
also, I don't set the price here. Someone in finance sets the price that the city will allocate per gallon of gas for that year based on the best estimate they can make.
I understand, but what I'm looking for is not what the purchasing department is assuming that you're going to pay for fuel. What I'm looking for is the exact cost that we're paying for fuel. So we are buying fuel today, and what I need to know is, what are we paying per gallon for the fuel that we're buying?
Well, I think I answered that. It changes every single day. Whatever day the gas is delivered on, the price that we pay is the price on the
Okay.
New York Exchange that day plus 9/10 of a, well, actually under the current contract, I believe it's 2.2 cents per gallon.
So
But
you say we get deliveries every 2 weeks, so 2 weeks
Approximately.
ago, what did we pay? What did we pay per gallon 2 weeks ago for fuel?
I don't know, I'd have to look that up for you.
Okay. Commander, there's questions here that I need to have answered, because we go from a request of 500,000 down to 400,000. I know what the budget is now is 325,000, because we made a transfer out of there at 25,000. I know that we have approximately 118,000 of fuel that, for the most part, we didn't purchase it, we didn't use yet. We have a voucher out there for it, and we have 51,000 that's available to continue purchasing some more fuel. So, the questions I need to have answered are, what are we paying for fuel? What did we pay for fuel in the last delivery? What did we pay in totality? What did we use last year for fuel? What did we expend out in fuel? And what is the formula that you're using to increase this bid from 325,000 to 400,000? I need to know what the formula is that's taking us from 325, which we're nowhere near 325 yet, but yet we're looking for 400,000. So I can have Joanne email those questions off if you'd like. I've got issues with the fuel bills. I've had for a long time. I had it last year, I've had it the year before. But this year, I want to get down to the bottom of it. So I'm going to move, no, I'm not. I keep getting ahead of myself with this move thing. Questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Councilman Marola.
I know that when we look at the sheet as to how much each department is paying, it's different markups. And I don't remember us discussing this before, but you know, here we have different rates for fire, police, DPW, sewer, for each one of the vendors. And I think there's 3 or 4 different vendors suggested. And we have, as we were just hearing, we have storage places at different locations in the city. And I'm just wondering, for example, over by the prisons, the state has its gas storage facility, and different state trucks pull up to gas up depending on what it is. And it just bothers me that we're paying different rates for the same fuel.
May I answer that, Councilman?
Yeah, sure.
It's not the same fuel. I don't remember, there's at least 3 different kinds of fuel used.
No, I agree. But
There's-
the category of fuel, so unleaded, DPW is getting a rate of 0.0220, where the sewer authority is getting a rate of 0.00950 markup. So on unleaded, there's a difference, you know, over 7 cents from the same vendor. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, why is the same vendor charging us 7 cents more per gallon just because DPW pulled up instead of sewer?
Actually, I could answer that, but I think it's more appropriate that Christie does.
So the reason that these vendors assign us different increments basically is because if you look at the size of the tanks that we all have different size tanks for whatever fuel. And if you look at how much we estimate we're going to use, they're gonna give DPW a much better increment, and they'll probably still make money than if they, you know, the sewer department has a 4,000 gallon tank at each pumping station maybe.
Right, and it's
So,
more deliveries and more trips.
I have a 12,000 gallon diesel tank. You know, that's why they do it.
I'm just wondering if it's about time we start putting in larger diesel tanks and put it at one location, because 7 cents just for unleaded is significant. And you know, some of the other ones, new ultra diesel, there's, for the sewer authority, it's 0.155, and for fire, it's 0.0475. So, you know, it's almost 11 cents a gallon more for the sewer authority to get new ultra diesel than it is our fire department.
And they only have 4 gas tanks, so.
Correct, yeah.
At 4 different stations, so
I
the vendors
just
base
wondered
their
if we should
price
start
on.
thinking about consolidating our distribution system, because you're right, Chrissy.
It is.
If we get big, if you have a larger tank,
We
then
do.
it's less deliveries, and they're gonna take that into account when they bid the price.
It's very expensive to change what we have. We only have 2 pumps in our yard, and we service everyone except for fire, police, and the sewer department. And we also, the school department gets their fuel from us, so, you know,
Who do you service? Which departments?
everybody except for fire, police, and sewer. School maintenance comes through our yard, they all get their fuel from us, all our own departments, you know, so we have a substantial amount of traffic in our yard. It doesn't make sense for the fire department to come down and fill up a truck.
No, but it
They can
makes.
do it right at their
It
station.
might make sense to put another $12,000 tank, a 12,000 gallon tank in.
It's very, very expensive, and
What type of expense are we looking at?
I know it's in the thousands. I can tell you, I can look it up for you if you want, and tell you how much it
Well,
was
this bid
last
is.
time we did it.
This bid's for 1.5 million for fuel.
Right.
So you start adding it
And-
up.
And as a side note, my department's requesting a cap of 920,000 for
Right,
1
yeah.
year.
So, thank you.
To continue on with Councilman Marola's point, at the fire department, at the police department, you have a tank at the police department, I would assume.
Yes,
Okay,
quite a large one.
okay. How large? Oh, we don't know. You gotta find out.
Gotta
You're gonna
find
have
out.
that for me Monday. Chief. I'm sorry, to the mic.
I was just looking at.
Identify yourself, Chief.
Chief Kenny, Warwick
Thanks.
Fire. I believe that tank's 12,000. I just looked it up in the bid. It's in the bid specs. And we as well are requesting the 157,000 for our bid for Peterson. They were the low bidder for the.
We'll get
Ultra.
to your bid
Okay.
in a minute, Chief.